I am very proud to introduce Fire Chief Rob Collins, the new Fire Chief for the Huntsville Lake of Bays Fire Department. Rob, really appreciate you taking the time to come in and chat with us today.
Oh, I'm happy for the opportunity.
And we were just chatting a bit about some of your background experience. You've had quite a few years working in various fire departments around Ontario and out of province as well. So can you tell me a bit more in our audience about your background?
Yeah, so I actually started out as a volunteer back in 1991 in a little township in eastern Ontario, Tyendinaga Township. Bonus points if you can spell that. It was a department that started from scratch. I moved there. We had no fire protection at all, so we started that. I was one of the first 20 volunteers to step up there. It became kind of a calling for me, the fire service. So. Took every bit of training that I could get my hands on, held every position in that department other than chief. I was the training officer, I was a medical responder, a captain, and that led to some full-time work in the field in the town of the Blue Mountains. I took over as a deputy chief there in 2005.
Okay.
I stayed there for just over 3 years, became the chief in Port Hope, and was there for 5 years. And then back to the Blue Mountains again to become chief. And in between, I was actually in Mission, BC as an assistant fire chief. So got to travel around a little bit and see some different ways of doing things. And then my latest move was I've just come up here and happy to be in Huntsville and looking forward to joining this department. And
we're happy to have you here. I mean, it's great to have somebody with such a well-rounded background to come into the position. Especially, I from experience as well, know traveling around Canada does kind of open your horizon on your own position and how you do things, right? So yeah. I'm sure in BC, things are done a little bit differently than in Ontario.
Yeah, BC was probably the biggest departure that I've seen. But every department I've been with has had their own ways of doing things, and I think over the years have been able to sort of distill the best of all of those departments and put it into my vision for what I think the perfect fire department should look like.
So let's talk about that vision. So moving forward, you're now in charge of this fire department. What do you see kind of as your plan to move forward and improve the way operations are?
Well, first of all, Huntsville Lake of Bays has sort of the system that I really believe in, and maybe it's a bias from coming from a volunteer department, but using volunteer or part-time on-call firefighters for this type of community is the best way to do it. Mm-hmm. I have the utmost respect for volunteer firefighters. These are people that are giving back to the community. They train as hard and work as hard and are as qualified as any professional firefighter anywhere, and it's the backbone of the right system for this type of community. Where I sort of maybe have a little bit different vision than some chiefs is that I like to base my fire service mostly on prevention. You have to have that suppression capability, and this department is fortunate to have a great core of people that are able to deliver suppression and rescue service as well as anybody. But my vision is to have fire prevention as sort of the first line of defense. So that's educating people, that's making sure that all of the different businesses and residences and all the occupancies in town meet code standards. Inspecting, making sure that the latest technology is in place wherever it's mandated, and just helping local businesses, landowners, residents, everybody to be as safe as possible. It's an old cliche that the most effective way to fight a fire is to not have one to begin with, and that's where prevention takes the forefront in my ideal fire service.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. One of the things I want to ask you about is, do you, hearing about these other, I know Tyendinaga well, I know Port Hope fairly well too, and Blue Mountains. This seems to be a bit of a departure from that for you because it's such a wider area of coverage. Do you find that as a challenge, or are you kind of, looking forward to grabbing that on?
Oddly enough, my experience in Tyendinaga actually, it's a smaller community than here, but again, it was a population that was scattered over a fairly large area. So it was a smaller population, but it was a lot of farming, a lot of rural community. Here it's sort of similar, only instead of farms, you got lakes in the way, and you know, people are scattered around again in sort of a low density situation where, you know, you've got the town, which is kind of a small urban area, but then you've got this large area to deal with as well. But I have some experience with that, and Blue Mountains was similar in some extent, again, a farming community rather than lakes. But yeah, the geography here is definitely going to be a challenge, and you know, I'm looking forward to learning my way around that.
Well, you obviously have a team that's, you know, already pretty fairly experienced in that. So how do you, you know, as a new fire chief coming in, how do you sort of relate to these people that have been on this job for so long? And you know, I mean, being a new boss is about gaining trust. So how do you kind of work your way into that role?
I mentioned to a colleague that coming into a new fire department and getting in the first time you get into a room with a bunch of those people. I've been in the fire service for going on 30 years. Mm-hmm. A room full of firefighters is a room full of firefighters no matter where you go. The names are different, the faces are different, the characters are generally the same. So, I think because I come from a volunteer background, I relate to volunteer firefighters very well, I think, and I think that comes across to them. Helps me gain some trust, and you know, trust is a valuable thing, and all it takes is one, you know, do something wrong and wrong them, and it's hard to get it back again. But you know, I come in with the utmost respect for all the people that are already here. I think it's important not to come in and just, you know, carry a big stick and make a whole bunch of changes on day one. I'm definitely looking to capitalize on the experience that these people already have. They know this area better than it's going to take me years and years to ever, if I ever get the knowledge that a lot of these people already have. So I rely on them heavily.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, we talked a bit about this, is the partnerships in the area with other emergency services. How important is that, keeping that relationship open for you?
Well, it's such a big thing in emergency response in this day and age. The days of operating in a silo are long gone. If that was ever effective, I don't think it was. So partnerships, and especially when you have a lot of smaller communities, nobody's got sort of the resources that a larger city would have. So it's very important to work together. And again, in the rural communities that I have been used to working with, mutual aid was a huge thing. Almost every significant call required a neighboring community to come in and help. And we have those systems set up where all we have to do is make a call on the radio, and we've got a lot more resources coming in. So definitely important in running things effectively.
Fantastic. So looking ahead, Rob, you know, what can we expect? I know COVID is really keeping things limited still right now in terms of, you know, connecting with the public, but I'm sure you still do want to make that connection. So what can we be looking forward to in the next couple of months, or even into next year?
Well, you know, COVID has really thrown a wrench in the works. Next week would have been fire prevention week, or it is fire prevention week, but it would have been something with a lot of public events and people coming out. We're not able to do that. We are still going to have a side-by-side burn demonstration at our Port Sydney station. We're going to videotape it and distribute it that way rather than having people actually there watching. And most of our fire prevention activities are going to be in one way or another virtual. We're still trying to get information out there. Public education is such a key that we'll take advantage of our social media and other types of media, and you know, you folks will be instrumental in that as well. So it's important just to keep getting that message out.
Well, Rob, I want to take one more opportunity to say welcome to the community. We really look forward to having this partnership with you, both with your TV and with the community as well. And we look forward to all the good things you're going to be doing.
Great. And I'm looking forward to becoming a member of the community. And you know, the first part of coming into a job like this is a lot of fun, just all the learning that I need to do. So I'm ready to go, and I'm looking forward to it.